You trust it more than you trust yourself. That's not an insult. That's a fact. Right now, in your pocket, there's a voice that gets instant obedience from your mind, no questions asked. You ask it something. It answers in half a second. You don't argue. You don't doubt. You just believe it. But your own intuition, the one that saved you before, the one that screamed, "Don't go," or "Something's wrong," before you had a single piece of proof. You crushed it. You called it irrational. You called it fear. So answer me this. When did a machine earn more faith from you than your own soul? When did a prediction become louder than your purpose? You don't remember, do you? Because it didn't happen all at once. It happened in silence. One small surrender at a time. Until obeying stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like default. Tonight, that silence breaks. Because what I'm about to show you isn't about artificial intelligence. It's about the intelligence you buried alive inside yourself. And by the end of this, you won't just understand why this happened. You'll feel exactly where you lost yourself, and exactly how to take it back. There was a moment, maybe you don't even remember it, when you stopped listening to yourself. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a single decision you made consciously. It was quieter than that. It was 1,000 tiny moments stacked on top of each other, each one teaching you the same lesson. Your feelings couldn't be trusted. Your gut was unreliable. Your instincts were just noise dressed up as truth. So you learned to check. You learned to verify. You learned to ask someone else, anyone else, before trusting what you already felt to be true. And somewhere in that pattern, technology found a perfect entry point. It didn't have to fight your intuition. It just had to be louder than the doubt you already carried. Think about how natural it feels now. You wake up and the first thing you do is check a screen before you even check in with yourself. You don't ask how you feel. You ask what the data says. You don't ask what your body knows. You ask what the algorithm recommends. This isn't weakness. Please understand that. This is conditioning, built slowly, reinforced daily, until the wiring of your trust got rerouted without your permission. You were taught, again and again, that outside answers are safer than inside ones. But here's what no one told you. Every time you overrode your intuition for an external answer, you didn't just make a choice. You cast a vote for which voice gets to lead your life. And for years, maybe without realizing it, you've been voting against yourself. That ends now. Because recognizing the pattern is the first step to breaking it. And you just took that step. Let's talk about why this machine feels so trustworthy in the first place, because understanding the trap is how you finally walk out of it. It never hesitates. It never says, "I'm not sure." It never shows you its doubt, its fear, its uncertainty. And your brain, the same brain that's wired for millions of years to equate confidence with credibility, mistakes that certainty for truth. But your intuition was never built to sound confident. It was built to sound quiet. It whispers instead of shouting. It nudges instead of insisting. It speaks in a tightness in your chest, a hesitation before you say yes, a strange peace when you finally say no. And because it doesn't shout, you've trained yourself to believe it doesn't matter. Think about every time you ignored that quiet nudge because something louder, something more official sounding, told you otherwise. The job you took because the advice sounded smart, not because it felt right. The relationship you stayed in because everyone said it made sense, while something inside you kept asking why it didn't feel like home. This is the cruelest part of the pattern. Intuition doesn't compete well in a world that worships certainty. So you start treating your own inner voice like a liability instead of a guide, something to suppress instead of something to follow. But ask yourself honestly. How many times has that quiet voice been right, even when you didn't listen? How many times did you find out later, too late, that the warning was real? That track record matters. It's proof your intuition was never broken. It was just outshouted. And the moment you start respecting its quiet over the world's noise, everything in your life begins to recalibrate. Now I need you to sit with something uncomfortable, because real change only starts after honesty, not after comfort. You didn't lose your intuition because it stopped working. You lost it because trusting it felt dangerous. Intuition doesn't come with guarantees. It doesn't show you proof before you act. It asks you to leap first and understand later, and that terrifies a mind that's been trained to need certainty before it moves. So you reached for the thing that promised certainty instead. The machine. The algorithm. The voice that calculates instead of feels. Because feeling can be wrong in ways that hurt, and calculation feels safer, even when it's hollow. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Certainty was never the goal of a meaningful life. Aliveness was. And the more you optimize for certainty, the more numb you become to the very signals that make you feel human in the first place. Think about how much of yourself you've muted just to feel in control. The tears you postponed. The anger you swallowed. The joy you downplayed because it seemed irrational to feel that much about something so small. Every time you silence a feeling, you don't just lose that feeling. You lose a little bit of your ability to trust the next one. This is why so many people feel hollow even when their lives look successful on paper. They optimized every external metric and forgot to check whether anything inside them still feels alive. But you're not most people. You're here, watching this, because some part of you already knows something needs to change. That part of you is the very intuition you've been ignoring, and it just spoke louder than it has in years. So how do you actually take it back? Not the idea of it, not the inspiration of it, but the real, lived practice of trusting yourself again. It starts smaller than you think. Not with some massive leap of faith, not with quitting your job or burning down your old life overnight. It starts with one decision a day where you choose the quiet voice over the loud one, just to see what happens. Maybe it's not checking your phone the second you wake up. Maybe it's sitting in silence for 60 seconds before you let the world's noise back in. That single minute is where your nervous system remembers what your own signal actually feels like, separate from everyone else's. You have to rebuild the relationship like you would with a person you betrayed. Trust doesn't return because you demand it. It returns because you show up consistently, even when it's inconvenient, even when the outside world has a faster answer ready for you. Start noticing your body's language, because intuition rarely speaks in words. It speaks in tightness, in lightness, in the sudden urge to leave a room or the strange calm that settles in when something is finally right. Learn that language again like you're learning to read for the first time. And when you make a choice from that place, even a small one, and it turns out right, do not brush past it. Acknowledge it. Tell yourself out loud, I knew that, and I was right. That sentence rebuilds more trust than 1,000 affirmations ever could. This is not about rejecting technology. It is about refusing to let it replace the one voice that was always meant to lead. Use the tools. Just stop handing them the throne. So here you are. At the edge of everything you've just realized, standing in the space between who you've been and who you're about to choose to be. This was never really about AI. AI was just the mirror loud enough to finally show you what was happening all along. The real story has always been about a voice inside you that never stopped speaking, even when you stopped listening. That voice didn't leave when you doubted it. It didn't abandon you when you chose the louder, more confident answer instead. It waited. Patiently. Quietly. The way real love always does. And it is still here right now, in this exact moment, waiting to see if you will finally choose it back. Imagine, just for a second, what your life looks like 6 months from now if you actually do this. If you actually start choosing the quiet voice over the loud one. The decisions you make from peace instead of panic. The relationships you stay in or leave because something inside you finally feels safe enough to be honest. The version of you that doesn't need permission from an algorithm to know what's true. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is not some distant future self you have to earn through years of struggle. It is available the moment you decide your own knowing deserves a seat at the table again. Not someday. Today. In the next decision you make after this video ends. So here is what I am asking you to do. Not someday. Right now, before you close this video and let the noise of the world rush back in. Sit in silence for 60 seconds. Ask yourself one honest question. What have I been ignoring? And then, for the first time in a long time, actually listen to the answer. If this reached something in you, do not let it end here. Subscribe, because this channel exists to keep handing you the mirror the world keeps trying to take away. Comment one word below describing the thing your intuition has been trying to tell you. And share this with the one person you know is drowning in everyone else's voice but their own. Your mind was never meant to obey anything louder than your own soul. Today, give it permission to remember that.